Morning, everybody. Thank you for coming out today with the pouring rain and it's freezing, but it's obviously a group of people who are really concerned about Avon Crest. I'm here in your MC. I'm Barb Shaughnessy, not a long-time resident of Stratford, but I came to Stratford because of the architecture, and I'm thrilled to be living here. Our first speaker this morning is actually Jane Marie Mitchell. She was actually born here and raised here in Stratford. She organized our group today to come out and be advocates for Avon Crest. Avon Crest needs voices. She will speak a little bit about the history of Avon Crest and some of the impacts having to do with demolition. So we welcome, give her a clap, let's cheer on.
Thank you. Great to have some supporters out. Dean Robinson provided me with the historical details from the presentation that he did at a public meeting on Thursday, March 16th, which can be found at save@avoncrest.com. I feel that history can teach us a lot, and it's part of our culture. When Stratford became a city in 1885 with a population of just over 9,000 people, it found itself struggling with matters pertaining to the sick and the poor. The mayor of the city, Mr. Gregory, addressed in his inaugural address, he talked about the necessity of needing a hospital and a poorhouse. A public hospital to address a health issue, and the poorhouse to ease the plight of the community's vagrants and derelicts. There had always been doctors, but the hospitals seemed to come and go. Late November 1888, Robert Kerr of St. James Anglican Church appeared before council on behalf of a group of 7 women who were concerned about the city's treatment of the poor. One of the women could have been my great-great-grandmother, as she was going to that church at the time. They sought to work with the council, their health and relief committee, to improve the situation. The women also wanted the city to look more seriously into a matter of a hospital. At the end of Reverend Kerr's presentation, the council instructed the Board of Health and Finance to meet with the women, discuss the relief, the distribution of relief money to the people, and also their ideas on a hospital. Within a week, there was another public meeting, and Judge James P. Woods recommended a cooperative effort, one that involved the city and the county. By the end, the attendees resolved to provide directors to attempt to raise $5,000, what they thought they needed to get it going. Within 24 hours, there was another meeting. The City of Stratford General Hospital Trust Fund was established. And then there was talk of a location. The committee members favored the city-owned land along the western portion of Avon River. They ended up meeting in March. The alderman granted a hospital site, 5 acres of land known as Avondale Park. The land was valued at about $1,000, and the city came up with $2,000. The women who had earlier enlisted Reverend Kerr demonstrated their concern for the city and the poor by canvassing the wards. By January, 4 months later, they had $15,500, which was more than was needed. People were lending a helping hand. They were donating furniture, kitchen items, bedding, and other items needed for the hospital. Those that couldn't afford a monetary donation, they would sew or find another way to donate to the community effort. I tell you this because it all happened within 4 months, because the will was there to do it. Within just over 2 years, the building had its official opening. And where are we now? 136 years later, we have the hospital that McGregor envisioned, and an opportunity to repurpose it to alleviate homelessness, which is still very much with us. Past administrations have celebrated in claiming that Stratford is a smart city. How many smart cities would not repurpose a building that could help meet an ongoing need and service for several more decades? The Here Perth Alliance, who owns the property, wishes to have some entity and to build something for health and wellness, but wishes to retain the ownership of the land. The CAO, Andrew Williams, has said that they have been clear all along that if somebody approached them with a timely, fully funded, responsible plan for the building, that they would listen. But that hasn't happened. That is putting the responsibility for finding investors and preparing everything on others. Even collaborating with the public who feel ownership of this community asset was never done to find a solution together. Williams says the costs are unfortunately completely out of the realm of anyone being interested to touch it. Williams said demolishing it is smart business, a smart business decision. It's good for the environment and it's good and it's the right thing to do for the community. The question to ask is why? The city did do a study on Avon Crest by an outside assessor in July of 2006. And he said that it was a great building. It scored 26 points on a building of importance, and the threshold was only 20 points. With that information, city staff recommended designation. Heritage Stratford recommended designation. But sadly, our last council voted 9-2 not to designate this important building. Why? Yes, the Stratford General Hospital did pay $1 for the land and the buildings August 14th in 1961, so they do own it. But it is a community hospital, and the citizens do feel ownership of this asset. And they still continually donate to hospital initiatives, just like they did to get the hospital up and running. This shows disrespect to the residents of Stratford and beyond for not being transparent about plans that they have and not engaging the public in solutions. The provincial policy statement does lend us some assistance in this issue. Section 2.6.1 says, significant built heritage resources and significant cultural heritage landscapes shall be conserved. Not could or should, but shall. It is irresponsible to let a heritage building rot from neglect. The most sustainable outcome would be to reuse the building because the greenest building is the one you already have. Reuse and retrofitting for community health and wellness reasons might include housing for the homeless, a walk-in clinic where there are mental professionals and other relevant professionals, a Ronald McDonald House, nutritional education for people living with conditions like arthritis, heart problems, or diabetes. And the list goes on as to how we can use this nationally recognized significant work of architecture. There is a mixed-use project called Vision Soho being built on the site of Old Victoria Hospital in London. It's a collaboration of many nonprofits working together to provide an affordable housing development, which is the single most largest in Stratford and a very positive example for Stratford or anywhere of what can be done with heritage buildings. There are a number of environmental issues with the current plan as well. The impact of demolishing a large structure would be enormous and could release tons of CO2 into the atmosphere. New construction also, needlessly, will add more tons of CO2. Contravening the greenhouse gas reduction plan, the 2020 Declaration of Climate Emergency in Stratford, and the official plan, which encourages the rehabilitation of older buildings and recognizes the significance of heritage landmarks and their role in enhancing their surroundings. Why ask citizens to recycle when corporations can pollute at will? It will take as long as 50 to 55 years to offset the carbon debit that's created through demolition and building a new building. Recent news from the United Nations chief also resets our net zero target to 2040, 10 years earlier than it was targeted before, due to the dire situation of the planet. Avon Crest is very close to TJ Dolan, a watershed and home to many animals stressed due to the constant noise. Do we really need another empty lot for some developer to show interest in the land? Remember the old fairgrounds, St. John's United Church, the Legion, and other places that wait. In London, not that long ago, a whole downtown heritage block was demolished for a new shopping center. Then the developer backed out, and now they're left with no shopping center and no heritage buildings. Waiting to give a developer, or wanting to give a developer a clean slate is not a good reason to demolish a heritage building. We need to rethink what we're doing. If this building is designated as heritage, we can wait and revision a new purpose. Take some time to find those nonprofits and try together to find a collaborative solution for this heritage property. Remember the song by Joni Mitchell called Old Yellow Taxi? You don't know what you've got till it's gone. I'll end with a quote from the city of Kingston, where our first parliament was in Canada. Cultural heritage resources are non-renewable, and once they're lost, they can't be gained. Thank you.
Jane Marie, thank you very much for that talk. I learned a lot as a new resident to Stratford from that. And may I suggest that you actually send your speech to each and every counselor and ask them to read it. It's too good to not be heard. Next we have somebody that maybe most of Stratford knows already. He did run in our past election for mayor. His name is Robert Ritz, outstanding architect. He was born and raised in Stratford, so if there's anybody who knows Stratford, he knows it. He knows the history of all their buildings. He's going to be speaking today to us about affordability for housing, either a low affordability or no cost to building affordability on the site at the Crest. So, Mr. Ritz.
Clarify that a little bit, no cost to the taxpayer. But Avon Crest, just following a bit on Jane Marie, I didn't know the contents of the speech until hearing it, and it's interesting that Avon Crest is a place to provide a need for the community. That's how it was built. There was a need, healthcare needs at the time, and now there's a need for housing in the city of Stratford. And I'm going to go more in that direction on how this building could possibly be repurposed again at no cost to the taxpayer. And what's going to determine this is the strength of our council. And are they going to play the lead, or are they going to let this building's destiny be determined by a non-elected official? We'll find out. Avon Crest is a part of a triad of public buildings that are vital to the city's economy, health, and justice that the city did not own. And those buildings obviously were the GPR site, the railway, health, obviously the hospital, and justice, the courthouse, the presence of Stratford at the end of our main street. Avon Crest is Stratford. This is the building. This building was the place of care and comfort for our citizens. It was a place of joy when citizens first arrived in the city at birth. It was also a place of sadness when the citizens left this city at death. It was a place of hope that one will get better with their health issues after they were there. The medical service providers there gave us a sense of security that we would be taken care of as citizens in this building. How did it evolve? Mary Jane covered a bit. By the citizens. When they recognized the need for a strong healthcare facility required by our largest industry, the GTR shops, where there were many eye injuries, which was attractive to surgeons because there would be work for them. And other than eye injury, other body parts were injured along the way in those early days of the shop. When it grew, we financed it again as citizens. So we have thrown land at it, money at it, and now we don't have any control of it. This building is a place for great opportunity. As a hospital structure, it was built very well. It was designed to withstand some of the strongest storms this city could ever see. People say that the building is falling down. Well, if you look at the brick, the masonry structure that supports the floors, it's telling me as an architect, it'll be a place for a long time to come. In fact, this building behind me, reports of brick falling off of it. Are we planning to demolish City Hall? No. It's why Avon Crest, a much larger structure with more embodied carbon within it. So what are the opportunities for this building? This building is structurally sound and can be reused. The fact that there's hazardous materials in the building is an item that has to be removed whether the building's going to be torn down or retained. After it is removed, this structurally sound structure is attractive to developer contractors to renovate it into housing. Why? Because the building has value. To redevelop it, there would be no site costs. The site's already there, the surface is already in, so those costs don't have to be assumed. The only cost that would be thrown at it would be some structural upgrades, and of course, new mechanical, electrical systems, and interior architectural costs. If it costs $300 a square foot to build a new building, this building as it stands is worth at about $50 a square foot right now. So look at that, Doug. When you think about it, it actually costs less to build it than what it's worth right now as a building that requires work. What can it be? Well, whatever it is, it should be at no long-term cost to taxpayer. Sure, the city may have to provide some financial backing to assist the project, but in the end, those costs would be recovered by the development of this building. In other words, this building would be self-financed at no cost to the taxpayer. How can this happen? Well, the only way this can happen is if the city of Stratford takes possession of the structure, front lawns, and drive as it currently exists. This saves the hospital the cost to clean it up and to demolish it. Why waste healthcare dollars on those two items? This is key to make a portion of this building affordable housing. How does the math work? A typical multi-unit residential development sells for about $500 a square foot. The cost to build is about $300 a square foot. $100 a square foot is the cost of the land. Another $100 a square foot is developer profit and soft costs. The city manages this. We save $100 a square foot on land costs because the land costs are free. The affordable portion of this building then would cost about $350 a square foot. So for a 1,000 square foot apartment, condominium apartment, would be about $350,000, which right now is a good price for a 1,000 square foot facility. The part of the building that's the original building increases the cost of construction to develop it and bring it back to its original appearance. And this cost would be financed by the development of higher end condos in that portion of the building. So the land costs that we don't pay, that goes towards the repurposing or refurbishing of the building, plus some of the profit that the developer would normally make. So those apartments would go more at market rate than a more affordable rate, because that has to finance the refurbishing of the original building, and who would not want to live in that beautiful structure? What does the hospital get out of it? The hospital gets, one, they don't have to spend healthcare dollars on cleanup and demolition of the building. After the project is complete, I would suggest that the property taxes generated by this building be given to the hospital on an annual basis. The hospital will continue to own the parking lot, and the parking required for the uses in this building would be developed through the demolition, getting the weeds here, but the demolition of the former physical plant, which could become parking lot, and the hospital would own that and generate income from that as well. Dave's smiling because of the weeds. With respect to heritage, the original building has been refurbished to its original state. With respect to the environment, the embodied carbon in this building is retained, and as a renovated, insulated structure will be more energy efficient, and with use of solar panels on the south roof, it will be more sustainable with a heat pump heating cooling system. With respect to housing, it will add affordable housing stock as well as higher end dwelling units, both of which are needed in the city. And finally, all of this can happen at no long-term cost to the taxpayer. All council has to do is take possession of the building and have a committee struck to move forward on converting it into a multi-unit residential structure.
I'd love to grab that.
Thank you, Robert, for that wonderful speech, because it certainly gives everybody food for thought. And nobody's actually done any cost analysis on providing that, so thank you for moving forward and providing that today. So for those of you out there watching this, you don't probably realize that it's -1 but raining at the same time, so we're all shivering. But I have one big ask. I have a big ask of everybody who sees this, everybody who is here today, that on Monday, March 27th, it comes to council, as a Crest comes to council, I think we need to show and force that we care about our history, we care about our structures, we're not prepared to lose them. So council starts at 7 o'clock. I would advise you to come earlier than that to get a seat because the room is not very big. So I look forward to seeing everybody. I will also be delegating from a different perspective as a past regional councillor. I'll be speaking from my perspective as a delegate, and I hope to see you all. Thank you very much for your time, everybody.